This is the Robbie G Podcast, episode number 12 with 80Empire. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. This is a production artist duo out of St. Catharines, Niagara Falls area in Canada. I've had the pleasure of working with them on some songs, and we've got a collaboration project coming up soon, so look out for that. Let's dive into it.
Yo, this is the Maestro Fresh West. We chilling with Robbie G.
The boy Joel Ortiz, and you already know I'm rocking out with my dude.
Yo, what up? It's the Kid Mercules.
Hey, yo, this is the one and only R.A. the Rugged Man.
This your man's Obie Trice.
Yo, this is WXX, and you're listening to...
And you're listening to...
Robbie G.
Robbie G.
Robbie G.
You already know what it is, man.
All right, we are live. We're going. We're golden. How's it going? 80Empire.
What up,
Good,
brother?
man. Good to see you, brother.
At least virtually, right?
Yes. I know it's still crazy that we're almost a year past and have not gotten a chance to be able to connect in person.
I was just saying, it feels like Groundhog Day every day.
Yeah.
I wake up to Sonny and Cher. Close my eyes. I got you, babe. I put a toaster in the tub a few times. Wake up the next day.
Still going though. Still going. I know you guys. Your hustle is admirable. It's incredible to see you guys just continually pushing. I love seeing you got the vlog dropping now and stuff like that. Always continually pushing projects. The new project, Legacy. Incredible work. Everything that you guys have been putting out has been amazing. All the collaborations with different people, also doing collaboration projects, the one with Ballistic Man, the one with Swifty Mcvay. Tons and tons of content that you guys have been dropping. So I know you've been stuck inside, but obviously you guys have been using the time wisely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we said to ourselves, like, we can't go anywhere. You know, so and I think the cool thing about it is, well, if you look at the silver lining of it all, a lot of artists, as you know, are glued to their devices, so more inclined to check a DM
and people,
yeah,
and the audience,
totally.
Audience more inclined to check a message, to send out an email. You know, as before they were, shooting movies,
too busy,
touring constantly. Mm-hmm. So it's been cool that way, and then more people, stuck at home listening to watching, Netflix and listening to their whatever platform they're using. So it's been cool to kind of take that and go, okay, you know what, let's roll with this and just keep putting out content,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's awesome, man. It's good to see. It's
Thank
good
you,
to see. Yeah, there's a lot more opportunity. People first saw this when it hit, and they were just like, "Oh my God!" All the opportunities fell through the cracks, but they kind of changed and morphed, and now there's new ways to connect.
Yeah.
A lot of people doing like Zoom studio sessions and stuff like that, creating music together, and there's so many more people to work with now.
I gotta show you
yourself,
out,
man. Like,
I gotta show you out, man.
You're doing your virtual tours, man, and
Salute.
One on IG, one on Facebook, like that.
Listen,
that's brilliant, man.
As we appreciate the kind words, man. It's equally said back to you, man. Your hustle is inspiring as well, because you're not letting it sucks, and for some people it's more than sucks. We've lost, colleagues in the industry and friends who've lost their fathers or mothers or grandparents or close friends and things. But what you're doing too is you're inspiring people, and you're giving people, if they're stuck indoors and they can't see you live, at least they can sit there, feet up, with some popcorn or a nice drink and watch your show. And
that's one thing that sort of cut you off.
Yeah.
I think, Robbie, that's one thing that you do, is that a lot of people really, at the end of the day, don't care, but you sincerely care about music. You sincerely care about people and affecting people in a positive way by virtue of the visuals you put together, the types of songs you put together, the types of projects. Like, look at, you're in like a Zen, a yoga rapper's guide to enlightenment, to an enlightened mind. So I think like it's nice to see that there's gentlemen like yourself that really care, because you know what? Not everyone's going to be, not to be corny or cliche. Not everyone's going to be a gladiator. You know, we're mentally and physically tough. So are you. We have our days where we feel down. We have lots of family members. Like our grandmother, you know, she's 98 in a home, doesn't know what's from what, but like she's, you know,
she suffered depression her whole life.
Depression, schizophrenia. So like we understand mental health. Mm-hmm. Deeply, you know, but there are people who just can't pull through. So those little things, you know, like you interacting with fans and getting together with them before you do a show on Facebook, that shit means the world.
That goes a long way for people.
Mm-hmm. Big time. No, I see it. You see it in their, you know, in their reactions, in their hearts, and in the comments that they make and stuff like that. How much, you know, just going the extra mile. And I think now also there's no better time to be able to do that than connecting with your fans and finding new ways to connect with them and create a relationship. I mean, I feel like in this past year, I've gotten to know my fans better than I ever had before. You know, like I kind of knew some people here and there, like kind of get their names, but now it's like I know their names, I know their life story, I know their parents, I know their brothers, I know when they have a birthday coming up. You know what I mean? I'm just so much more connected to the people that are listening to me now, and I love that this has given us the opportunity to be able to do that.
We got to take the positives out of this dark.
Yeah,
this too shall pass, but you know, taking the positives out of all the
plague. I like calling it the plague. Once the plague years are gone and we've left the plague and we're in the new millennium after the plague. But yeah, man, it's crazy though.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird years from now, looking back at this time. I feel like it's just things are going to get wilder and wilder as it goes on with this whole, now that they've figured out they can shut the whole world down off of a virus and this whole vaccine thing that's rolling out. I know I've mentioned it a few times on the podcast before, but I always like to ask the question: what are your guys' thoughts on this, on the vaccine? Is it something that you guys are jumping in line to go grab, or you kind of hesitant, hang back style?
I've actually,
we're sitting on the bench watching people.
No, I've actually had it, and I feel no. You know what, man? I think there's so many. You know, there's so much now, so much information on the net, whether good or bad. Mm-hmm. You know, there's the middle, and then there's the left, and then there's the right, and I think. It's hard because
the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't think the vaccine is a bad thing. I don't think Bill Gates wants to put chips in all of us with this vaccine to control us. I think that's a little taking it a little bit too this way, or saying it's 5G. You know, the 5G towers are doing this. If anything, I think a cell phone tower is going to give you far worse than coronavirus. You know what I mean? The radiation from that crap. I think that we have a family, a cousin who her husband's a doctor
in Winnipeg,
and he took it, you know, a few months ago. And except for the third eye, he's doing fine. No, he's doing good. So
I think only time, you hate to say it, I think only time is going to tell.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
I mean, I know.
I'm more think of is it successful? Like, it was so quick.
I could speak from experience, not with Corona, but as a kid, you know, growing up in a country like Canada or the States, mm-hmm. you take your vaccines as a kid. It's part of, I don't want to say law, but like even just to get into school, they don't allow kids if you don't have your whatever all of that stuff. So my parents took me, did their due diligence. I took all my shots. They thought that I had my chicken pox shots. My oldest daughter's 14. Okay. She's going to be 15 in September. So and then my youngest is 12. So maybe 2 years, a year and a half after my first daughter was born, one Friday, I'm like itching, like I'm like a friggin' monkey. My wife is like, Jesus Christ, man, you're not like, whatever. And then Saturday I wake up with, we'd go to the grocery store and my wife thought I was trying to get out of going grocery store. I'm like, listen, I don't feel good. Next day we go to
men only try to get out of going to the mall.
But my
groceries is,
my point is this, the third day, Sunday, went to go visit a buddy, housewarming took a shower that morning, but whatever, I'm using his washroom. I'm washing my hands, start doing this. I lift up my sweater and just like 3 hours before I took a shower, I am now covered. I'm like, holy shit, we got to go. Go to one doctor, you got the chicken pox. Go to my family doctor, you got the chicken pox. I didn't believe it. So what I'm trying to say is I took the friggin' shots as a kid. It didn't, and it's not shingles. Like people are like, didn't you get shingles? No,
he looked bad too.
Yo, man, I was covered.
And when you get it, as you know, when you get it when you're older,
high fever. I've never had a
worse.
fever that high in my life. Like I had a full week of a fever. And again, going back to our cousin whose husband's a doctor in Winnipeg, he's very cut and dry.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's a doctor, you know, so he's going to give you the what's what. And because then I ended up getting a skin infection. So over the chicken pox, I started getting all of these, like they look like friggin' warts on the chicken pox, but that's a skin thing. And then if it gets worse, I had to take medication for that because then it could go into your, it sounds funny, but brain, she could end up dying. And so he told my parents that. My parents were freaking out. He told my wife that. Needless to say, I'm okay. I'm standing here.
Well, that's debatable.
That's debatable. but what I'm saying is, like, I took a friggin' vaccine as a kid, and 14 and shit, 30 years later. However, I don't know when I took it as a kid, but as an adult.
Well, my thing is when when vaccines are made, they're made from, a virus that's kind of organic. That's something that's, it's
bits of it are taken from the virus because you need the virus to fight the virus. This is synthetic.
Do we really know if this was, man-made or came from a bat? And it's not far-fetched to say that this was not made. I mean, there is proof. I mean, in ways of they do have these
the ability to do it.
Yeah, they do have these things where they make a super virus in order how to.
And Wuhan is one of the areas where they specialize in if there is a pandemic, how to treat it. Yeah. So their worst nightmare.
So it's not far fetched, right? Now to say somebody pulled the Resident Evil and did one of those, and let it.
But if you start thinking about it, it is kind of scary because like. The world there's a lot of good in the world, and I have hope in humanity, and I have hope in the youth. Just looking at my children, like my daughter a couple of weeks ago, out of the blue, not for high school, wrote an essay, like a persuasive piece about Tom Brady and that he gets white privilege. And if like other black athletes,
that's awesome,
couldn't get away with the shit he's gotten away with. Yeah. So when you see my daughter writing that, my youngest daughter, Luke's kids, other cousins and people that we know their kids, I have faith in the world, but I don't have faith in adults. So who's to say that some evil person, man, just said, let's see what happened. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it got out, but who knows, man? We're not conspiracy theorists, but at this point,
we really don't know.
We bloody don't know, man.
None of us really know.
Nobody knows.
If it did come from a bat, it came from a bat that was injected with this virus, my wife, Robbie, you've met her, like she's Chinese Cambodian. I mean, so it's luckily she hasn't experienced.
I don't think Robbie's ever met Moy.
I thought maybe Robbie met her.
No, I feel like when we did the shoot though, might have like.
Did she?
Maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe the shoot. Yeah. For Cheers to You.
But she hasn't experienced any racist stuff about coronavirus. Good. But this is something where. The world is showing its ugly head.
It's crazy. In stats wise, I remember seeing a post that hate crime towards Asians is in Vancouver alone has increased by 764% in the past. I think it was like 6 months or a year or something like that.
Yeah, and
it was like,
and
whoa,
that's
a massive.
That's huge, and people, not to get into, Trump because he's gone, but not forgotten because, I mean, he can, again, the tough lawn, he can run in 4 years, not to get into all that. But why I say it is because even though we're Canadian, it does trickle to Canada, Trumpism. That person was always, right? That person was always racist, but now he's made it okay to openly call somebody a racial slur because of they're Chinese, they're black. They're
it's
Latino,
so crazy what he gets away with. That's funny. You say the piece about Tom Brady and his white privilege, like the kind of shit that has come out of Trump's mouth. Like if it had reverse roles in exactly, if it was Obama saying that about, white people or something or Chinese people even or anything like that, like the amount of heat that would have came on him. God. It's so strange. And it's not like the heat's not coming on Trump. Obviously there's a whole bunch of people that are like, this is wrong. This is totally wrong. But the I think the crazy thing is just that he has so many supporters that are on his side, and you're like, how can you support a person who has these such crazy ideologies in this century and now living still? And the comments and remarks that he's made are like being like, it's the China virus and stuff like that, like legitimately saying that on television or on a camera. And I mean, I don't know, I have an issue like just with nationalism as a whole. I think there's great things in like being proud of where you came from and who you are and your heritage and your culture, but in a sense, you know, the whole idea of nationalism, it's to separate everybody, and it's to be like, you guys are on your team and we're on our team, and our teams are against each other, you know what I mean? And even sports has made it so much like that. Having the Olympics, it's countries competing against each other to see who's the best, and you know, that creates a kind of conflict in between nations and people, and just generally, like when you're thinking about other races and other nations, they're not thought of as like your friend or your neighbor, you know. They're like the enemy almost sometimes, or like your competition.
WWE, like growing up watching WWE and watching like, I am a real American, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan coming up with the American flag, that, and you know, and then having Nikolai Volkov, Russia, and then the Iron Sheik. That was like in the 80s, the 90s, but that, like, the political climate in America is WWF circa 1985, circa 1995. It's crazy where American politics is like WWF. And it just, you know, I was watching a couple of weeks ago, like I love history and stuff. Robbie, next time when the world is safe, man, and you come here, like my house is full of antiques and vintage crap. You'll come over for dinner to our house, and then we'll do a bunch of tracks in the studio. But I was watching a thing on the Discovery Channel a couple of weeks ago, and when you look at the parallels of Nazi Germany and Hitler's ascend or to power, his climb to power, and Trump,
we were in that.
It's very parallel. Like there was this guy, I forget what his name was, but he had a club foot or something. So he walked like that. So because of that deficiency or that special need, he kind of like took a back seat and thought, I shouldn't be the face of the Nazi party. So they kind of pushed, you know, Hitler, but this guy who had the club foot had a newspaper. So what did they do? They bashed the Jews in his newspaper. What did they do? Fake news. They same what Trump would do. They did a rally. They would do a rally, and they did it around Berlin or whatever. And what it was is they went around 5 blocks, but they had like only 10,000 soldiers, but they keep going. So it looked
made it look like there's just 100,000 soldiers walking by. Yeah.
And so, but this is like, so it just like, it's cut from, it's almost like you're using the same bloody blueprint. And, you know, Hitler and his minions and they got people who, you know, some of them believed in what he did, but some of them just were like just regular citizens who got caught up in this thing, and they got coerced. And then after, they did it on their own will, but to kill whatever it was, 6, 7, 8 million Jewish people. I mean, I don't know the actual physical number, but they killed millions and millions of Jewish people. So it's just like Trump, you know, he said storm the Capitol. They did. If Trump were to say, start shooting people, they probably would have started shooting people.
And that's the part that just floors me, is that it just shows how spineless. You know, you could have differences of opinion and policy, you know.
Because we have friends who are conservative. We've always been very peace and love.
Arts, of course, we're artists, so we're more like inclusive and bring everybody in and put money.
We're like, if liberals had a baby with NDPs, that's our political belief. You know, like,
and you know, but now it's like, you know, and God forbid they all, a few of them said, you know, I denounce this, what happened today, and then now they're all back to stroking his ego again,
because they don't want to lose their
seat. They don't want to lose their seat, and it just shows people. But people are blind. It just shows people that they don't care about the people. They care about holding that power. They don't care about them at all. The sheer fact that they kept blocking the stimulus packages for for coronavirus. You guys have lost more people to this virus than 2 world wars combined. You like U.S. soldiers dying in wars is less than 1 year, not even a year of this coronavirus. But yet you want to give people like, here's 1,500 for the month. Good luck with that. Like, what does that even do?
That's why I like guys like Robert De Niro, who, you know, were pretty gangster and pretty, he was pretty vocal about his disdain for Trump. But I love that, because not to say that you got, you know, like you wanted people to badmouth people that are in power, but I feel like right now, like even with the Black Lives Matter and like, even like with us, you know, like we did a song To Kill a Black Man. And not to like some people make songs because they want to capitalize or exploit something that's in the news so they can get views and likes. And Robbie, you're a lot like Luke and I. Like, we do shit because it comes from the heart.
100%.
You know,
I couldn't not talk on that shit. You know what I mean? Like when it came around, It's like a song came, and I remember being like berated by people and getting people posting and stuff, being like, why hasn't Robbie said anything yet? Why isn't he speaking up? And he should be speaking up in this time. And I was just like, I was writing at that time and creating, and I finally did and put it out. But like a lot of, you know, friends of mine that are people of color, they reached out and said like, yo, like, don't worry, like we know where you're at with this thing, like, you know, and we know that if you have something to say, you're gonna say it when you're ready to say it. And I did, and everyone was like, yo, thank you for speaking up. You know what I mean? I did that song called Stressed Out. But you can't not like, this is what we're artists, and what we do, I think, is just create you know, stuff that we feel is gonna help other people in a sense, you know what I mean? And when I talk about messages in my music and stuff, and anything that I write about, it always comes from a place of somehow a lesson needs to be taught inside the music and inside the words that I'm saying. And like, this is one of the most teachable moments ever right now. People's ears are more open than they've ever been. I need to step up. I need to stand and say something. And just because like I feel like I'd be like, who am I if I don't say anything, right? But 100% at the same time, it's like, I'm not creating this because I want to get views or get clicks or get likes. It's like, you gotta speak, you gotta talk. I hear that too from everything that you guys have put out.
And it's important for our friends who are African American, African Canadian, Latino, Indigenous, even now with what's going on with, you know, you know, Asian people, is, you know, it's one thing for someone within that culture or ethnicity to stand up, because someone's always going to stand up within their own ethnicity.
Of course.
But the power also comes from having allies outside of a culture, you know. So it's just like the three of us, you know, we've been the recipients of hip hop culture. You know, we're in the culture. We've benefited off of a culture that started in the Black community, you know, with Kool Herc, and if you want to go even deeper than that, you know, to storytellers in Africa, griots. And so for us not to show our allyship when the ship is going like this, you know, we can't always be like waving the flag. So it's good. Like, and again, I think the three of us, we did it from a very honest and authentic place, you know, because we care about people, man. When you know, but I think this whole COVID, from politically, from the disease aspect, from a friendship aspect, financial, so many different things, you really have seen people's true personalities come out, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so Lucas and I too have just, you know, we've kind of just sat back and go, wow, man. It's just like,
well, it's funny.
You know, you're watching the movie unfold.
Adrian doesn't care about like sci-fi movies and all that crap. He's more like historical, antique, and that, like, or gangster films and things like that. I love gangster films too, but I watch a lot of this crap, right? And you watch some of this like Walking Dead stuff. I haven't watched Walking Dead in the last couple of seasons of just, it's kind of, how many times can you read?
I'm watching Antique Roadshow on PBS.
But yeah, it's so true. But literally this past year, you know, watching people talk on social media, you're like, okay, so if this is Walking Dead, you'd be the cannibals. Like, you'd be like 6 months into this shit, you'd be eating people already, because you were that first son of a, you know what, that was at the grocery store taking up all the goddamn toilet paper. Coronavirus wasn't giving anybody the shits. You just thought, let me screw everybody else and buy up all the sanitizer. Like anybody who was trying to profit off of that is scum, you know, like, but when you watch these movies, you're like, I know a few people like that, like even friends that you're like, when this shit goes sideways, you're gonna crack. I could tell. And
there's a lot of people even on social media, and you know, nowadays we use the name friend so loosely. Oh, yeah. Like, you know, we could really count our real friends on our hands, and you know, not to sound corny, man, but like we're not afraid to rep, like, you know, our moms and dads, our mother and father are still like, we call my mom and dad Gangster P and Jabu, like they're the coolest friggin' people we know. You know, we've had like guys like when Bone Crushers come to town, meet my parents, and he's like, shit, man, I want to hang out with your mom, like more than I want to hang out with anybody else. So we can count the number of, you know, friends on our hands, real true friends and family. But, you know, as a social media, the phones, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, you know, we've had to delete a lot of people. Like even when we did To Kill a Black Man, or we've been very vocal politically about things, and people start talking about certain things. It's like, you're never going to bait Lucas and I into a fight online. We're much too wise for that. So you want to fight? Click. See you later, alligator. Have a nice life.
Well, I always said, when the people that you know are the ones that are the bigots and racists are the ones that are really, really, really pissed off about the riots. But when that video came out and George Floyd was, you know, literally, you know, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, you said absolutely nothing on your Facebook page or your own profile. Right. And that's fine. Not everybody has to. But if you're now going to spend the next 2 weeks going, why are they pulling down these statues? And, you know, they're historical. I know I'm not a racist, but they're historicals, you know, and I had to like school somebody. And I'm like, okay, I said, it's historical. Okay. I said, this is what I'm going to put it into context. And it might sound like vile right now, but I said, I come to your house. I beat you up. I rape your wife.
Oh God.
No, but I'm putting it in perspective. I'm putting it in perspective. I said, look, this is how real this is.
Yeah.
For Black, Indigenous people. I come to you, right? I murder your family. I rape your wife. I take your house. Then I take everyone else's house. And then in 100 years, my name is the reason why now this is a city or this is a town. So they put up a statue of me because I colonized this town. But how I did it was through rape, through murder, through genocide and all that shit. So why, you know, and then they went, I get it. I said, yeah, exactly. So you might think, well, that's history. But that history killed thousands or hundreds of, you know, of innocent Indigenous.
Well, the
African,
government,
you know what I'm saying?
The government, you know, gave blankets infected with smallpox to like the Blackfoot Creek and stuff, and then like
Indigenous people
wiped out so many.
And then going back, so now
that's like chemical warfare, like seriously,
right?
Like, or biological warfare, I think it would be
exactly. But now taking it back to the vaccine question, what we don't even think about in our minds anymore, from smallpox to polio to, you know, all these kind of things, is because of vaccines. So we're living in a world meningitis where, you know, us being parent, I got 2 kids, Adrian has 2, right? I don't have to worry about my kids. You know, I worry all the time being a parent, but I don't have to worry about the things, and we didn't have to worry about it as kids, right? So I think the vaccine is important. Is this one good? It remains to be seen if it's going to actually save us, you know, or help. We'll see, right? I guess the proof is in another year or 2, you know, if this virus is gone. Do I think it's some conspiracy to control the world? You know, when people say, "Oh, you see what they're doing now? You got to delete that messenger you have because
the tracing apps."
They're tracing it. Listen, man, when you signed up to Facebook 15 years ago, you gave your shit away. When you created a Google account, a Gmail account, you gave your shit away. You know what I mean? We all gave it away. Everybody has their shit up here. We know what you eat. We know when you took a shit. You know what I mean? You know who doesn't have their shit online? Our dad. My dad still rocks a flip phone. He's a hairdresser. He's like, I got to call my clients.
My dad's like that too. He does it. He's like, the government shouldn't know where I'm going. The government does not need to know. And my dad's not up to anything, you know, criminal, anything like that. He's just like, that's and he came from the era where I think that was a big, like, the big brother watching you thing was a huge concern for people. In his era, and like, you know, just like, oh, they're watching you, and then imagine like growing up even in his time, seeing how much surveillance has like just exploded, right? It's become a massive business, and any intersection that you drive through now, there is cameras on every single spot. They can find anyone, they can track anyone. They've, you know, the smartphones now, like they've got all the information that they need about you. So I mean, for people that are all worried about you know, people taking their information, like you said, you've already signed that contract. You've already signed it as soon as you accepted. You clicked agree to the terms and conditions. They got you.
3 summers ago, I was in the city. Actually, our cousin from Italy was here for the summer, and I didn't realize I ran the red. Like, it, you know, it's the yellow. Yeah. You go through, and then it red, and then they took a picture and sent you a ticket in the mail. 2 months later, I got the ticket in the mail. $375. What? You know what I mean? What am I going to do? Like say, well, no, I know I went red. I mean, I went yellow, right? It's not like I ran the red like while cars are going, but I green. Oh shit, I'm going too fast to hit the yellow. And it's literally as I'm kind of midway through, ready to get out, red. They got me.
I know with myself, because Robbie, you're on like, you know, Luke's on 80Empire too. I'm the major one who runs that, but Lucas posts, like, we share it. Mm-hmm. You know, I still have it. I put it to a private one. My Instagram, I don't use it because it's just a lot of, like, even just being a parent, it's just a lot of weirdos out there. And even on Facebook, I do have pictures of my children and stuff, but I really like to limit it because there's just, and as my kids are getting older, I just want to also kind of respect their privacy. That being said, watch in 2 weeks, you're on Facebook and watch, I post a pic of my kids. But I do try to keep that world kind of separate because I do want there to be that separation, you know, where everybody doesn't know everything about, like, because there's a lot of creeps out there, man.
Yeah, there is. And honestly though, the scary thing is, and I've wanted to do that too for my life. Like, I try to keep personal stuff not so much in my Facebook posts or my Instagram or anything like that. But it's slowly moving to, I think everything. If you're watching the flow of things, everything is moving towards this place of complete transparency. And like to a point where I think like Elon Musk's talking about, you know, eventually with this Neuralink and having chips in our brain, we're going to be able to recognize like thoughts and stuff like that. So if you're standing across from somebody, you're going to know like what they're thinking. You know, so even just your own mind becomes this like open up. It's not private anymore, you know, like the privacy
for young boys.
It's I know it's scary, right?
Boys are doomed.
But what once the it's been talked about and contemplated in different podcasts that I've listened to, and the funny thing about it is how liberating it actually is going to be, because you're going to hit a point where you have all these fucked up thoughts, but like you're hearing everybody else's thoughts and you're like, oh, they're all fucked up too. We're all fucked up. Like, we all have super weird thoughts about people or about like strange things that happen and like build scenarios in our minds.